All I do is try to encourage people to focus on the one reason why you can instead of the million reasons why you can't.
Focus on what you're good at and being self-aware of those things that you're really good at.
Hello, everyone. Thank you and welcome to the Merge Marketing Podcast. Today, Jason and I have a very exciting episode for you. Our guest today is none other than YouTube star Evan Carmichael. Evan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for the love, guys.
We're extremely excited to have you today, Evan. We're really looking forward to today's topic. It's a topic that you discuss at length, and Jason and I have picked up on when we are watching your content, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, or specifically in your book, Built to Serve. It's an exercise you describe as life changing, and that is figuring out what makes you happy. So if you want to go into that a little bit, because there's 5 specific questions that you encourage people to ask themselves to figure out what makes them happy. I'd love to go over those questions, and more importantly, for our audience, why those questions specifically.
So awesome. We're getting right into it. I love it. Yeah. So I wrote a book called Built to Serve. And the idea there is humans are built to serve. If you're not happy, it's because you're not serving. Some people are built to serve the world. Jay, Dave, and I, and probably a lot of you guys, you want to have a big impact, reach a lot of people. Some people are built to serve just, 25 closest people to them. Don't have a giant mission, but if you're not happy, recognize it's because you're not serving other people. So then it becomes, well, whom do you serve? How do you serve? What does the process look like? And what I encourage people to do is a 3-step process that I call who, why, how. Who is a starting point, which is where Dave's questions come from, which is figuring out who are you. I think everybody has one important core value that's more important than all the others. We're governed by our values, but when you have clarity over what you stand for as a human being, it allows you to build a more purposeful life. It allows you to stop caring as much what other people and their opinions are of what they want you to do, because now you're standing on a rock instead of standing on quicksand, which is what most people are doing. So mine is believe. That's my most important core value, my one word. And that flows through everything that I do, from my content to my interviews to my office environment. All of it is about belief. And I want people to figure out what it is that they stand for. So in the book, I go through some questions. The first one asks you, who is your favorite teacher of all time and why? And why I find this important is, if you think back, you've had hundreds of teachers over the years, from from elementary school, high school, all the way up, university, maybe afterwards, or even if you consider Jay and Dave to be your teachers. Now they're like the modern day teacher helping you out. Who has been your favorite teacher and why? So, if Mrs. Jones from, grade 11 chemistry was your favorite teacher, it wasn't because she taught you chemistry. It's because she made you feel a certain way about yourself. She helped you feel X. So what was it? And what I encourage people to do is think about write down 3 adjectives to describe Mrs. Jones and why you loved her so much. And then I go through a couple of examples, asking, what did you love about your parents and how they raised you? What's your favorite movie of all time and why? And what you'll notice is you'll find some of the same words keep popping up. It's like, what does my favorite teacher have to do with how my parents raised me, have to do with my favorite movie of all time? That's the common element that when you figure it out, you can now build a life more on purpose.
Can we dissect this a little bit, Evan? Do you mind if we just go into it a little bit, and even yourself? So, let's just start with the teacher and just do a quick kind of like roundtable here. Who was your favorite teacher growing up?
So Madame Farr was the teacher mentor that they assigned me in my last year of high school. And she taught me to believe in myself. Up until then, I was always getting B's and C's in my school. I was the worst of my family in terms of schooling. My sisters were getting straight A's. And she met me every week in the morning to talk about how I was doing and how I could do be better. And not the pressure or push that I need to, meet some expectations, but just that I could do it, and that she had confidence and belief in me. And so of all she taught me French that I don't use at all right now, right? In Canada, you learn French growing up, at least Ontario. But I haven't used French, I don't think, since. We don't use it every day in conversation, at least not in my business. So the subject she taught me has been of almost zero practical value to my life, but what she taught me as a human led to massive value for my life.
You know what? And for me, it's interesting. That was your answer. My answer was a teacher, grade 7, Mr. Barnes, who opened me up to the game of Risk. He had nothing to do with the curriculum, nothing to do with what he taught me, but every single Wednesday at lunch, we would sit around the table and play Risk. And it was that catapulted him to my favorite teacher of all time. No reason why, but he's the first one that comes to mind when I answered that question from your book.
Did you figure out your one word?
No, I have not. And mind you, this is as far as I've gotten is the exercise.
Okay, so if you just to play along, for the audience, if you had to pick something, don't worry about it being perfect. One core value that is more important than the others for you.
I think for me has always been loyalty. I think is a key one. Having a trust and loyalty has always been kind of a big one for me. But again, that might change. That could change, I think. And again, I've not really dissected these answers here, but I think it's something that I definitely need to do.
And that's fine. Like even just playing off of that for now. So if you go through the exercises, you'll end up landing on one. But let's say it was loyalty as your most important. You're not going to get to the end of it and realize that you don't care about loyalty. It's part of you, whether it's the highest or at least it's part of you. It's there. Let's assume that it is for you, just so that we can move the conversation along. Give some examples. Knowing that about you drastically changes the people that you bring on, the customers that you want to work with, the teammates that you want to hire, the relationships that you build. Chances are Dave is a pretty loyal guy, or he wouldn't be here on this show with you, right? Even knowing that that's super important to you, it can change how Dave works with you. Because if he's working on something that maybe you could potentially at some point see as a lack of loyalty, even though it's not, he can manage that situation a little bit better to make you happier. So that's why when you figure out your most important core value, a lot of people use it as a leadership book, which I wasn't anticipating because this is more of a personal journey that I want people to go on. But a lot of entrepreneurs have bought the book for their team to figure out what they all stand for. Because when you find that somebody's core value is creativity versus stability, how you manage that person is totally different. They just value different things.
It's really tough to find a CTO. That's a really hard job to find. Having somebody to manage a group of programmers, it requires a certain skill set and a certain type of personality, right?
But this makes it easier. Like if I know that you value creativity and this person values stability, I'm gonna come up with different ideas to work on with you. I'm gonna approach you in a different way, and it's not in a fake way. It's just in a way that actually supports and builds them. I think this is the key to leadership. Is yes, we have to get these projects done, but recognizing that people aren't monkeys. Everybody's got their own set of values, and if you can match them where they're at, it makes it a lot easier than expecting everybody to conform to what you value most.
I've always said, rather than trying to improve your weaknesses, try to get stronger at the things you're best at, right? Focus on your one thing. And it was a book, The One Thing, that really changed me and the way I approach things that I want to focus on and the way I approach my everyday activities. And I think that's the key. Everyone just tries to be good at everything when really there's other people that are better at those things, and you're never going to be as good as they are. So focus on what you're good at and being self-aware of those things that you're really good at. And that alludes to the last question of the 5, which was how do you want to raise your kids? Correct me if I'm wrong there. What is it?
Yeah.
And for me, it's understanding what that one thing is that you're good at and doubling down on your efforts on that one thing.
Yeah. So, and this is an exercise whether you have kids or future kids, in case you're young and don't have them, or borrowed kids if you never want to have kids. Just that idea that the next generation, you're going to be giving one message to them. What do you want that message to be? If you had to force yourself to get the clarity on what you want that message for them to be, chances are that's still the message you need right now for yourself in your life. And so any one of those 5 questions could help. All 5 of those questions can help. But the goal is to get that clarity so that that if you pick something like loyalty, that can totally change how you now build a business and a life going forward. That you could build an entire company based around loyalty to your team, loyalty to your customers, loyalty to your investors, loyalty to your partners. And that's why people will want to work with you because of that. So it helps with your marketing. But also you build a culture that means something. And you can have a really highly skilled programmer, but if they're not into loyalty, you don't belong here. Like, you need to go find somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, for me, I mean, the exercise that we're talking about, specifically going through those 5 questions, I really enjoyed. Some of them were tough, but it was a really great exercise. And I think that for me, I'm not obviously totally 100% defined on what my one word would be, but I would say I'm leaning towards it being curiosity. But I guess, like, how did you specifically come up with these 5 questions? Like, some of them are pretty interesting. Like, did you have to do research? Like, was it, you woke up in the middle of the night one night and you're just like,
no,
the movie thing, it's gotta be the movie thing.
No,
like,
I'm not that smart. Helping people. Like, I think any good nonfiction book comes out of your experience of helping people. If you're trying to give prescriptive advice, I guess, personal development book, if you're telling your story, that's one thing. But if you want to give people a tool set to use to improve their lives, it's because I've done it so many times on shows like this.
Yeah. Right.
Where people come on and I'm a guest and then I'm helping them work through it. These are the questions that I found just work the most effectively. So knowing that, like, if curiosity is yours, as an example, that changes how you approach everything. Like, asking Dave to do 800 episodes of the exact same format of your podcast, he's going to get bored of it. He just always has to have something new, something curious. So as a manager, as a partner, or as a friend, you need to be encouraging that and supporting that and reminding him of that. Because whenever he's been unhappiness, this is another great way to look at it. Whenever you've been unhappiest in your life, is because it's something that's happened that's incongruent with your one word. So chances are for Dave, whenever he's been unhappiest is when he felt in a box, just repeating the same life over and over again, not having any opportunities to go off and be curious, and he's not going to be happy. And so what I want to try to do is bring that to the forefront and then allow people to build an entire life and business around it.
How did you come up with Believe as yours? Like, what like, other than your French teacher?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Something else that drove you to that word based on answering those 5 questions?
So my process was a lot longer than what I prescribe in the book, because there was no book. There was no path to follow, right? I'm trying to give people the shortcut to say, hey, this took me a long time and others a long time. You can do it a lot faster by answering these questions. For me, it all started as a marketing thing. I was looking at my website, I was looking at my tagline, and I forget what I had at the time. Over 300 million people helped and counting, or something, kind of like what McDonald's did with their signs outside. And it just didn't feel right. I don't know. I just felt like it needed to change, but I didn't know what to put. So I started coming up with slogans for my website. What's my company going to be known for? And as I got into it more, I realized, you know what? This isn't just what my company is known for. It should be what I'm known for, and then what I bring to my company. So it became now an exercise. Oh, crap. Okay, well, who's Evan Carmichael now? Now it's not just my business. It's the whole thing. And I started writing down a whole bunch of things. And nothing was jumping off the page for me at the beginning. One of them was Believe, but it wasn't like, that's the one. I came back to it the next day, and I liked Believe. I liked how it sat there on the page the next day, but it felt like it was too big. Like, Believe is so big, Shamu the Sea Whale had a show called Believe, and Justin Bieber had an album called Believe, and just Believe seemed too big. And it's funny how we talk ourselves down from the big ideas. It's not even our friends and family and society. It's us telling us that we can't do it. So I tried to add more to it. Believe in yourself, believe in entrepreneurs, I just kept adding, and I made this giant list of things. And again, nothing stuck. So I looked at it the next day and I thought, you know what? I just like Believe. Am I going to be this crazy person just build an entire life and business around one word? This is crazy. And then I started researching and found that other people had done it as well. And my first book, Your One Word, is basically that, right? This is 3 years ago, but it's basically going to different businesses who were 50,000 in revenue up to hundreds of millions in revenue, who had all built a business around their one word. And it gave me some confidence in that, oh, I'm not alone. Like, I'm not the only crazy person who thought, hey, let's build a business around one word of, in my case, Believe. So in looking through, my teacher, Madame Farr, my parents are on the wall behind me. This picture, I'm 8 or 9 years old here, and those are my parents behind me. And they would always tell me that I'm Evan Castrilli Carmichael. I could do anything that I believe that I can. That didn't always, like, when you're 4 years old or 6 years old or 12, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It just sounds like words, but it was what they constantly instilled. My favorite movie is Seabiscuit. It's about this horse that's too small and a jockey that's too big and an owner that has no money and is broke. And somehow they all find each other and win all these races based off a true story. I've seen the movie over 30 times. And so all of these, if I was doing the exercise, belief would come up for all of these things. It's like, oh, that's what I like. And so now it's starting, then building my business and relationships around belief at the core. So having that awareness allows me to live a happier, more fulfilled life.
Who's the person that you look up to? Question number 4.
So that's a mix between my parents and AP Giannini for 2 different things. So AP Giannini is this guy here who started Bank of America. He, most people don't know his story. Even Bank of America don't know his story. I called their office trying to do a piece on him when they didn't know who he was. I'm like, this is your founder, guys. Come on. Yeah. My parents taught me how to be a human. Didn't teach me anything about entrepreneurship or business really, but humanness and self-belief. AP Giannini was about believing in the little guy, believing in entrepreneurs. So he lent money to immigrants when nobody would lend money to immigrants. He lent money to Walt Disney when everybody thought he was crazy to do a full-length cartoon. Nobody's going to watch a cartoon that's over an hour long. That's crazy. He lent money to people based off of a handshake and a look in their eye. If you can imagine a banker giving you money off of a handshake and a look in your eye. So I love his story. Meant a lot to me. And he's basically the believe banker.
Yeah. Wow.
I've actually, while you're chatting here, Evan, I've actually changed my word. Okay. Because I got that Mr. Barnes who taught me how to risk, open my eyes up to strategy and things like that. The movie's Rudy. I love that movie. Underdog, underdog, gets over the humps of constantly being cut, makes the team. My parents have always supported me in whatever I do, which is important, whether it's something that I'm just not in my wheelhouse of abilities, they've always supported me. Gary Vee is a big one for me.
Whoa, Gary Vee.
I'm dropping Gary Vee. I know.
Oh my God.
My throat for a year. I love Gary Vee.
I was just context here. I was the biggest Gary Vee fanboy forever, and Jay would bust me for it every day.
It became a little obsessive.
Look at that. Yeah.
Okay. So what does that all circle down to, Jay? What'd you come up with?
Perseverance, man. Perseverance, right? Super important, I think. And it's being that underdog, but not giving up and having the ability to persevere.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
This is a feeling thing, right? I mean, it's honestly not that far from loyalty, like loyalty to the cause. Persevere, keep going. It's the kind of thing like you sit on it, just like I did. I didn't know the first day. I came back to it. You sit on it the next. It's either going to feel more right or more wrong with time. If perseverance is your thing, that once you get it, it's not going to change. Like you're not going to be 80 years old and then stop caring about perseverance. There's always something new to persevere towards. Like that's how you should think about it, to get out of the trees of what's happening right now. Sometimes people can pick something like loyalty because their friend just screwed them over or something, and so like they can't step outside the situation. They're just too locked in here, and so like it's this, and then once they get through it, they realize, oh, that wasn't actually the thing that I cared the most about. But I've never had somebody change their word twice. Like you change it once and then you're like, oh yeah, that's actually the one for me. So think of it on a longer horizon. Are you still going to care about perseverance? And then even like Dave, that's the way you pitch him on the next guy. Like he hated Gary Vee, but like, dude, this guy's all about perseverance. You need to listen to it, right? Exactly. Okay, all right, okay, I can handle his swearing and whatever else like was over the top that you didn't like about him. If you ever want to pitch a guest or help Jay improve Jay.
Yeah,
it's through the lens of
perseverance. Yeah.
All right,
Amazing.
Dave, what do you got? What do you got?
Well, I'll keep that in mind for sure. So I know I just got to be conscious of time. We're running out of time here, and so I'm really glad we got to go through that exercise and dive deep into those questions. And hey, we helped Jay maybe figure out his word, which is really awesome. But I want to just go into the final question here because I really love your mission, and that's for people to believe in themselves, whether they're an entrepreneur or not. It's really powerful, and I can resonate with you being a fellow introvert, and just your story is really amazing. I'm curious, right now with COVID-19 still being a thing and us being locked down, I want to know what's been on your mind during this entire experience, and how maybe you've shifted to help people get through this unique experience and believe in themselves, or continue to believe in themselves. I know that might be a long answer, but just your thoughts of this whole time so far.
I think for me personally, it's been awesome. I'm an introvert, so all I get to do is stay home and make content.
Yeah,
it's been fantastic. My daily subscribers have tripled to quadrupled on my YouTube channel because I've just been focused on creating content. I think for people, for my audience, or people who keep DMing me on Instagram and leaving comments, I think there's always something, man. Like, I think there's always a reason why you can't. There's a million reasons why you can't, and there's 8 why you can. And whether it's COVID, or once we get through this, it's going to be your mom or your teacher or the government, or now's not the time, or something. There's always some reason. There's always some reason why you can't, and it's true. But there's still one reason why you can. And all I do is try to encourage people to focus on the one reason why you can, instead of the million reasons why you can't.
Amazing. Wow. That's a sound clip right there in and of itself. That is perfect. And I think that's a great place to wrap up. So Evan, we are extremely grateful for your time today. And thank you so much for joining.
Appreciate it, guys. Happy curiosity and perseverance. Make it happen. And always love seeing Canadians doing their thing and spreading the message.
And get the book, Built to Serve, right?
If you want to see another awesome interview I did, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.